I'm Sid, and in today's video we're actually going to be doing a part 2 to the video I just previously did where I ranked the easiest instrument to march with versus the hardest. Now, in the comments you guys reminded me of so many other instruments that are actually on the marching band field, so we're going to rank those today. Let's get started. We're going to be ranking each instrument based off 3 things. Number 1, weight. Number 2, playability. Is it easier to play on the marching band field versus the concert? And can it still be heard on the marching band field? Like, does it make a significant impact if it's there or not? And number 3, marchability. So was it adapted some way to be marched with? Is it easy to get from one part of the field to the next part of the field while carrying it and playing it? Or is it just not meant to be out there? The first instrument we're going to be looking at is the baritone saxophone, or more commonly known as the bari sax. Now the bari sax, weight-wise, is heavy. One of the heaviest woodwind instruments on the marching band field. And it's also about that big. I know you can't. Just pretend you can see it's huge. Now for playability, it is 100% still heard on the marching band field because of its lower register. It's pretty easy to pick up even if there's wind or anything else going on. However, it is a woodwind instrument. It's not great for rainy, stormy weather, or anything like that. Number 3, marchability. No, this thing is not easy to march with. It's huge, it's long, and it's heavy. On top of that, the neck strap puts a lot of weight on your neck, which can kind of be hard and annoying, especially when you're staying out there for hour on end rehearsal. Or if your band director makes you play with it in front, your thumb is gonna be dead by the end of the rehearsal. I'm gonna put the bari sax in D tier. It's heavy, it's huge, and it's really uncomfortable to march with and not that easy to get around in your drill. Sticking with our lower woodwinds, we're going to do the contrabass clarinet and the bass clarinet. Now, to be honest, I've never seen a contrabass clarinet be marched, but you guys put it in the comments, so we're going to have to rank it. Bass clarinet and the contrabass clarinet do get a little bit more awkward than the normal clarinet because they are all of a sudden a lot longer. However, everything's pretty much the same. Weight-wise, yeah, you might add a few extra pounds, but I don't think it's really that enormous of a weight. Playability-wise, they're practically fine. Yes, it is easier to play in the concert band because usually a lot of those will have a little piece on the end, so you can actually sit it on the ground instead of having to hold it up with your hands. So you do lose that, but other than that, you can still be heard across the field, and because it is more of a vertical and like a skinnier instrument, you're not having a lot of difficulties. For marchability, they do now add neck straps when you basically upgrade to bass clarinet or contrabass clarinet. Marchability wise, I think because of the neck strap and not that much weight being added, I still don't think it's that difficult. Now again, I can't speak for anything because I've never played it, but if you're looking at it, it's pretty skinny, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, your thumbs also might be killing you, but definitely not as bad as the bari sax. So for marchability, the only thing is you can't rest it on the ground at this point, but again, it's still not as heavy. I'm gonna rank the bass clarinet and the contrabass clarinet probably at A tier, which I know might seem a little crazy, but again, they're not that heavy, not super adding that much more to your person when playing, so I feel like it's pretty doable.
And that's why I'm ranking it C tier.
Next instrument is the euphonium. Now, if you don't know what a euphonium is, it's a marching baritone. Take the baritone that sits like this, and they switch it basically so it kind of looks like a trumpet. For weight, that's not a light instrument. It's pretty hefty, obviously not as heavy as a bari sax or maybe a tuba, however, you're having to hold it just with your hand, your arm strength. There's no neck strap, there's no like putting it across your shoulder, anything like that. So weight-wise, yeah, it's pretty heavy. Playability, I would say it's probably a little bit more difficult to play than the concert version, but it is brass, so it's still going to be heard no matter where you are on the field and what the weather is. I mean, unless it's like tornado weather. Now, for marchability, they took a baritone and made it marchable. Do I necessarily think it might be better? No. It's still really heavy, and instead of being able to kind of like maybe put like an arm grip or something here, now all of that weight is going onto your hands, into your shoulders, and your forearms. That is not gonna be fun. Can you imagine having to march with basically like an extra large trumpet? Essentially is what it is. Still having to keep your bell pointed up, having to do all of these things, having to keep your embouchure nice, and still march around. On top of that, it is bigger than a trumpet, so you're having to have this whole hefty thing added onto your space and your body. So marching around on drill, not easy. You're having to focus on this weight, trying to hold all this up, and it's huge. So I'm actually going to put the euphonium at D tier. There is no way I would ever want to march with a euphonium. Our next instrument is the mellophone. Now, like I said in the previous video, which you should definitely go check out, I never grew up with marching French horns in our band. We only had concert French horns. So I had to go out and actually do quite a bit of research on this. Weight-wise, they're obviously way less heavier, are heavier than your flute, clarinet, trumpet, those kinds of things. So weight-wise, I'm gonna put it mid. It kind of reminds me of a trombone weight. Now for playability, it might take the French horn player a little bit used to, because instead of like having to hold it here, you're actually getting to hold it here, which could be nicer, could be worse depending on the player. For playability, I think it'd be easier to have a marching one versus a normal French horn, because a normal French horn, you're having to like stick your hand in the bell and hold it all goofy to try to make sure it, well, plays nicely. By the marching one, it just gets a hold right here. Nothing goofy, your hands don't have to be stuck in the bell with all your spit and gross stuff. So that's nice. For marchability though, instead of giving to kind of like have your arms in more of a relaxed position of being able just to be right here, you are now having to put your arms up like a trumpet or a euphonium, which can be uncomfortable having to hold a big metal brass instrument up here for a very long time. Your arms start hurting, your fingers start hurting from those weights resting, fingers start hurting from the weight resting from the instrument. It's not necessarily ideal, but it is a lot smaller than the euphonium. I'm probably going to put the mellophone right around B tier. B tier, kind of with the trombone, it's a little bit awkward, really not maybe the most comfortable thing, but definitely not the worst. Weight-wise, it's not terrible. Playability-wise, it could be better, unless it's worse for you, but I really think it could be better. Our next instrument are the bass drums. Now, if you've seen the other video, which again, go watch, a lot of you guys got upset that I just did bass drum as a whole, when there's a lot of different sizes that they can come in. The biggest comment I saw was bass drum 1 through 5. Bass drum 1 is going to be around 16 to 18 inches, so it's going to be the smallest bass drum on the bass line. Because of that, it's also going to be the lightest. Weight-wise, it's the lightest. Now again, it is still a drum, but it's on a harness. It seems pretty light. You're probably going to feel like maybe like a pregnant lady, but maybe only in her second trimester, not her third. For playability-wise, it's a drum. You're going to be able to hear it anywhere on the field, and because it is a little bit smaller, you're actually going to get a little bit of a higher pitch, which can carry sometimes better than some of the lower pitches. Because it is smaller and it's on a harness, it's going to be right here playing, instead of, you know, usually where you kind of have to like be on the side playing it for concert band. For marchability, again, it being the tiniest drum on the bass line, you still have good vision over it, and because it's not so big width-wise, you can still get around fairly easily. And if you need to, you can throw it off real quick and then throw it back on, because it's the smallest. So I'm actually going to put the bass drum 1 at A tier, which I know is probably controversial, but I think because of how light it is, you still have good vision. Yes, it might be a little bit more width to you, versus the other bass drums, it's not as bad. Now for bass drum 2, the size is usually about 20 to 24 inches in diameter. It's a little bit bigger than the small one, but again, if we're looking at the scale of bass drums, it's also not as heavy. Yes, it is a little bigger, a little bit heavier, but it's still manageable. For playability wise, again, like every bass drum, it's going to be about the same. Now this is where your vision starts to get a little bit taken over by the size of the drum, but you should still be able to see pretty well over the top of the drum. It now is getting a little bit harder because you are getting a little bit bigger, so moving around in the stands and on the field becomes a little bit more of a challenge. That's why I'm going to put bass drum 2 at B tier. Again, B tier is kind of hard, maybe not as difficult, kind of in that good medium range. You're harnessed in, so you can't take it off as easily. In that B medium range, not necessarily something you want to play on the marching band field, but not the end of the world. Marching band 3 can be between anywhere from like 20 to 24, 26 inches. It's again, shockingly, just a bit bigger than the one before. Weight-wise, the bigger we're getting, the heavier they're getting. So it is going to be even heavier than bass 1 and 2. Probably could put bass 1 and 2 together, and boom, you'll get the weight of bass drum 3. Now, again, I've talked about playability. Every single thing is the same. Now for marchability, you are getting a little bit bigger, so your vision is now getting a little, probably not super visible anymore. You might be able to still have music or something up there, or you know, maybe do a little like bend down and just a little bend and you can see over, but it's not gonna be that easy. Also, it's getting bigger, moving in the stands is harder. So it is harnessed in, like every other bass drum, it's gonna start adding more weight to your shoulders, and because it is bigger, harder to get on and off as easily. That's why I think it belongs in C. It's getting bigger, vision is getting low, and it's heavy, you're having a hard time getting out of the stands. Marching band 4 is usually around 22 inches or a little bit bigger. It gets heavier and bigger. So weight-wise, just imagine it heavier. And playability, we already talked about that for every other drum. Now for marchability, you pretty much lost most of your vision. If you want to see over, you're gonna have to do a little spin and look because you're just massive at this point. Bass drum 4 belongs in C as well. I don't think that it's necessarily ready for D tier because it's, number one, it's not the heaviest bass drum and it's not the biggest. Now moving into bass drum number 5, both the heaviest and the biggest bass drum, 24 inches, but can even go up into 32. This thing is massive. Now trying to march on a marching band field is already hard enough. Trying to get to your spot, trying to do these things with the other bass drums, it's also been difficult. But now that you have the biggest drum, you're having to watch for other people. If you fall, it's game over. It's not just you laying on the ground, it's you plus a 32 inch to 24 inch bass drum. Yeah, it's gonna cause a wreck. Definitely don't want to fall with one of those. So you're now having to be aware of other people. Not saying that you had to not with the other bass drums, but you're now the biggest instrument on the field. Marchability wise, I think that bass drum 5 is, you know, marchability wise, again, like I've talked about, it's huge, it's massive, it's not easy. So I'm ranking bass drum 5 all the way down in D tier. There is no way I nor anyone else would want to march with it. And if you're marching with it right now, I'm sorry, that sucks. Also in the previous video, I had a comment that said the flute is, you have it all wrong, your arms are terrible, blah, blah, blah. I would love for you to try to march with the baritone sax, the saxophone, or even the number 5 bass drum. Then tell me about the flute. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't seen the first video, definitely go check it out. I'll put it somewhere around here. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Tell me what your thoughts are, and go check out the rest of my channel. We'll see you guys next time.